everybody, and welcome to Plaid Stallion's Toy Ventures. This week, we're going back to 1976 to look at yet another character from the Big Jim's Wolf Pack line, and he's special because he's also the first villain figure ever created for the brand. Prior to formation of the pack in 1975, the Big Jim adventures were fairly conflict-free. Jim would fish, hunt, and go on safari, but he got along with all of his big pals, if you will. Mattel dipped their feet in the water with an enemy with Dr. Steel, who was ambiguously marketed as friend or foe concept to Jim, leaving that decision clearly up to the children. However, in 1975, the line got a major upheaval, converting Jim and his friends into a crime-fighting force called the Pack, Professional Agents Crime Killers. All of the characters in the first wave of figures were made up of existing Big Jim characters. They got new decals, outfits, backstories. Even Dr. Steel was now firmly reassigned into good guy status. All of them would be given striking new packaging art from Jack King Kirby. Now that is a serious toy upgrade. There was only one problem. These 5 tough crime fighters had no criminals to fight. No bad guys. Well, that would be remedied in 1976, where the line would begin to take on more of a distinct comic book flavoring. For its second year, Mattel would invest in some new tooling, concepts, and a chosen theme for the pack this year, which was called Double Trouble. The Double Trouble concept was meant as a takeoff on the role-play spy items of the 1960s. Is that a jackhammer or is it a machine gun? Is that a bitchin' Corvette or a rolling laser arsenal? That's Double Trouble, folks. The true centerpiece to the 1976 Big Jim line were the new hero and villain figures, namely Double Trouble Big Jim and Zorak, both with amazing face-changing action. The face-changing feature was the creation not of Mattel, but of husband and wife toy-inventing team Ed and Bonnie Fogarty, who, since 1968, had been creating toy concepts. Their portfolio included such memorable items as the Nerf Glider, Power Tennis, and the Weeble Funhouse. With a twist of either Jim's or Zorak's right arm, they were able to change expressions. Zorak would go from a reserved scientist to angry green-faced monster that doesn't resemble any hulking character from the comics. Nope. Jim would go from a serious leader to that face my dad made when I drove his Grand Marquis into the ditch that one time. Both Jim and Zorak and new Agent Torpedo Fist would be sold in window boxes with a large flap that contained a comic book origin story on the back. In both the promotional comic and the Zorak Toys packaging, Zorak is described as an insane nuclear scientist who chased Jim into a mine that collapsed. He did eventually dig himself out, but all those years underground transformed his face into a horrifying creature. Now, aided by his army of henchmen, he sets out to take over the world, and I assume get revenge for that whole mine shaft thing. The original Big Jim promo comic depicted Zorak as wearing a purple and blue bodysuit and cape. However, the finished figure was drastically different. Zorak had a very nice cape with a gold chain, but he was now shirtless and just wearing some pants. Big Jim received what is lovingly described as a powder blue speed suit. He'd fit right in on the Venture compound. Internationally, Zorak would be released across the globe and be featured heavily in things like the Big Jim sticker albums, always as a villain. Congost of Spain would even sell a version with the Wolfpack logo tattooed onto his chest. I really like this. In Mexico, Zorak was altered slightly for Sipsa's Kid Acero line. He was still the calm, if possibly a little too pleased with himself scientist, but with a flick of his arm would reveal a ghastly glow-in-the-dark skeleton face. There, Zorak would command an army of bad guys as the leader of the organization Cobra. That's catchy, I like it. The skeleton version of Zorak would present itself into the European Big Jim Pirate series as well as the character Captain Drake. Of course, the face-changing concept would also wind its way into Mattel's Masters of the Universe with the imaginatively named character Man-E-Faces. Sadly, for kids who were 6 years old at the time, like me, the pack wasn't enough to help Big Jim's sales problem, and he and his friends were headed to Europe where they would have a long run and face a whole bunch of new foes. Although not as successful, characters like Zorak and the intruder from G.I. Joe Adventure Team, introduced that same year, were pioneers of a toy concept that would become the wave of the future. Giving boys action figure lines with a specific villain with a specific backstory would become the norm for decades thanks to the later success of toy lines like Masters of the Universe and G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. So there you have it. That is our look at Zorak from the Big Jim Wolfpack line. Did you have a Zorak as a kid? What was your last Big Jim? Let me know either here in the comments, or you can seek me out on the Pod Stallions Facebook group. I'm there every day, and I'll leave a link below. If you're new to this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. I do stuff like this all the time. Until next time, take care, have fun, and be well. I'll talk to you soon.